And then David and a group of individuals like Marie-Josée Kravis, who is our current president, got together and they raised almost $850 million from the private sector. So we got the $65 million from the city, $10 million from the state, and everything else basically came from our trustees, a small group of individuals, and some corporations. Today, there are 60 individuals who gave us $5 million or more. The average gift was actually much closer to $11 million. We had our own crisis because at the time we were in the middle of construction. It was September 11th, 2001. Fundraising stopped, construction stopped. I panicked. I literally didn't sleep for 4 months. My trustees panicked. They didn't sleep for 4 months. And then one of our trustees, the woman you see on the left, Mimi Haas, said, you know, this was a project for New York City before September 11th. Now it's a project for the nation and the world. We can't let it fail. It has to continue. And she actually turned to some of her friends and said, I know you've already given a lot of money to this project. You need to double what you've given. And then after you've doubled it, you need to triple what you gave. And she went from $5 million to almost $20 million. Mr. Rockefeller gave us an initial gift of $15 million. By the time the project was finished, his gift was $175 million. Marie-Josée Kravis started with a gift of $10 million. Today, her gift is well over $30 million. And every one of our trustees did that. They gave, and then they gave some more, and they gave some more again. And why did they do that? It's a question I often ask myself. It wasn't because they were extraordinarily wealthy, because there are many very wealthy people in the world. They gave because they believed in every fiber of their body that this was something that they could live with, that this was something greater than anything they'd ever done. They became passionate and they fell in love with the project. And I think that's the single most important thing in fundraising. It's never actually about money. It's about passion and commitment. It's about the belief, the fundamental belief that art can transform the way we live and the way we think. It's the belief that individual institutions, Ponce, MoMA, the Louvre, the Met, all these great institutions can be triggers in their community that will transform the way people in those communities live. They believe that actually individuals are made better by sharing a love and appreciation for art. That's why they did this, and that's why all of you, I am sure, will transform Ponce into an even greater museum than it currently is. So this gives you a little overview of what the Museum of Modern Art today looks like in the city. The idea by Taniguchi was to create a building that, like a Japanese bento box, those very beautiful Japanese lunch boxes that are made up of little tiny squares, would plug into the grid of the city. This shows you the very beautifully restored entrance to the Durrell Stone building, something that's taking place also in Ponce. The garden with the new gallery wing on the right-hand side or the west side of the garden, and our Education and Research Center on the east side of the garden. The galleries that circulate around a new central atrium that acts as a pivot point in the museum where we can show these extraordinarily beautiful objects made here by Martin Purrier, an African-American artist who literally created objects that rose from the floor to the ceiling and beyond of the atrium. That's 110 feet. And you can see that this atrium allows people, as they move through the museum, to always look back and into it. Or a suite of galleries that have multiple entrances and exits so that the galleries become open and porous. The museum galleries used to be organized along a single grid. So you entered one gallery and exited the gallery and entered another one, and we told a very linear story. Today, because each gallery has multiple entrances and exits, what that means is everyone who visits the museum can discover their own route in the museum and can find surprises, unexpected relationships. And the reason that's important is because modern art is not some single monolithic tradition that has only one way of being understood, but is a dynamic tradition in which living artists today are constantly changing the way we understand works of art of the past. Or new spaces to show our extraordinary architecture and design collection. Or suites of galleries that allow us to show monumental sculpture like Richard Serra's works that you see here from a major exhibition we did. This is a gallery that is about 15,000 square feet. The ceilings are 21 feet high. There isn't a single column in it, and they have specially designed floors that can take the weight of these sculptures, which weigh in the aggregate. There were 6 works in this exhibition here, and the aggregate weight of those sculptures was a little over 100 tons. And it was a miracle that, this is on the 2nd floor, it was a miracle that they didn't come crashing through and create a giant hole in the middle of the museum. Now, in 2000, as part of this project, the Museum of Modern Art, which you see in the upper left corner here, merged with PS1, which is in the lower corner of the slide here, in the middle there. PS1 is a contemporary art center that was founded in 1970. And the reason we merged with PS1 is we understood that our future was not in the great works of the past, but in the new works that are either in the middle of being created or are going to be created. That is, contemporary art was the catalyst for our future. And we depended on the energy and the vitality of living artists and the works they were being made by them. And PS1 was one of the great places in the world that was home to living artists, that had a program that was dynamic and that could actually infect and change our program. And here you see the results of that merger. It's now PS1 MoMA. The courtyard of PS1 becomes every summer the site for a joint project between MoMA and PS1, where we invite contemporary architects to create an architectural installation. Here, architects last year, called N Architects, transformed that courtyard into a living garden. You know about living walls, green walls. I think you're going to have one in Ponce. Here the idea was to create a green space in the middle of New York that could produce fruits and vegetables that would feed the community while providing shelter for the thousands of visitors who come to PS1 in the summer. Give you an idea of what it's like, this is why we merged with PS1. Every Saturday, PS1 has a project called Warm Up. We invite DJs and musicians from all over the United States to present their work. We invite architects to create a kind of mise en scène, an architectural setting, and 5,000 to 6,000 kids between 18 and 25 come. And I looked at this one summer and I said, I want that. Those kids are our audience at MoMA. We need their energy. We need what they've got. And you'll see in a moment how PS1 has transformed the Museum of Modern Art. It wasn't that MoMA was going to transform PS1. It was that PS1, with its energy and its commitment to youth, could make MoMA a more interesting institution. PS1's program is about recognizing long-forgotten artists like Lee Lozano, a major figure of the 60s who had disappeared from critical focus, but who again now, because of PS1, is thought of as a major artist. Or new artists like Tobias Putri, a young artist from Slovenia who makes these utterly transfixing and ethereal sculptures out of sheets of cardboard stacked one on top of the other. They look as if they were computer generated, they're not. This was a work from a major exhibition we did at PS1 that now is part of the collection of the Museum of Modern Art. And this synergy between PS1 and its constant engagement with the avant-garde and our ability to use that as an incubator for the Museum of Modern Art is what has made this merger, I think, so successful.